My wife left me at her parents' dinner table. She thought everyone would back her. She was wrong. We'd been together long enough to develop the kind of shared instincts couples brag about online. You know, finishing each other's sentences, reading each other's moods, predicting each other's coffee orders like it's some romantic superpower. Turns out, I could read her moods just fine. I just didn't realize she was rehearsing a breakup speech like she had a Grammy nomination riding on it. Her parents hosted these dinners like they were running a small, morally superior kingdom. Same time, same day, same we don't buy cheap wine energy. Her mother set the table with the calm precision of a surgeon. Her father carved meat like it was a sacred ritual. And everyone spoke in that polite tone where you're not sure if you're being welcomed or audited. They were proper, respectable. The kind of people who say things like, "We believe in family values," while silently judging the angle of your posture. I'd always been good with them. Not in a desperate, please like me way. More in a, I can pass your inspection without sweating through my shirt way. I helped fix their fence last year. I drove her mom to a medical appointment when her dad's car died. I remembered birthdays. I showed up. So when my wife started acting strange, I noticed immediately. She was tense all day, moving around the house like a person trying not to disturb a sleeping predator. Her smile wasn't a smile. It was a professionally installed, pleasant face you'd see on a flight attendant who just witnessed a passenger do something unforgivable. "Everything okay?" I asked, casual, like I didn't already know the answer was going to be a lie wrapped in a bow. "Of course." She gave me a tight little grin. "Why wouldn't it be?" "Because you're polishing your words like you're about to perform them on stage," I thought. But I didn't say that. Instead, I watched her do the thing she always did when she was planning something. She kept repeating sentences under her breath while pretending she wasn't. At the sink, rinsing a glass. I've been thinking for a long time. In the hallway, adjusting her hair. This isn't working for me. In the mirror, almost smiling, I need more from life. She caught me looking once and instantly switched tone. "Oh my God, stop staring. It's creepy." "Relax," I said. "I'm just trying to figure out if you're practicing a speech or summoning something." She laughed, but it was polite. Like she'd applauded a joke because she understood the concept, not because it was funny. On the drive to her parents' house, she was sharply polite. That's the only way I can describe it. She wasn't rude, she wasn't sweet, she was courteous the way a lawyer is courteous when they already have the documents printed. Her phone buzzed twice. She glanced at it and turned the screen away from me with the smoothness of a magician hiding a card. "You expecting someone?" I asked. "No, it's nothing." "Cool," I nodded. "If it's nothing, then it won't mind you showing me." She stared at me like I'd spoken in another language. "Why would I show you my phone?" "Because you just did the classic turn the screen away move," I said. "And I'm not in the mood for amateur theater." Her jaw tightened. "You're being paranoid." There it was, the word that always meant, "You're noticing something I don't want you to notice." I didn't press it. Not because I was scared. Because I'd learned that if someone is setting a trap, you don't sprint into it just to prove you're brave. You let them spring it. Then you step over it. We arrived, and the house looked the same as always. Warm lights, perfectly trimmed hedges, and that nothing bad has ever happened here vibe. The kind of place where even the air feels disciplined. Her mother opened the door with the exact same smile she always used. "There you are," she said, kissing my cheek. We were just about to start. Her dad gave me a firm handshake. "Good to see you." It wasn't fake, not from them. That's what made the rest of the night so educational. Inside, everything smelled like roasted meat and expensive certainty. The table was set like a photo for a magazine titled, "How to Be Better Than Your Neighbors." My wife didn't sit next to me. She used to. Always did. Little unspoken habit. But that night she slid into a chair across from me, like we were about to negotiate a treaty. I raised an eyebrow. "What?" she said, already defensive. "Nothing," I replied. "Just making sure we're still married or if this is a hostile takeover meeting." Her mother chuckled politely. Her father smiled once, small and quick, like he approved of humor that didn't cross the line. My wife didn't laugh at all. Her mother asked, "How's work been for you two?" I said, "Busy but manageable. His team is always behind," my wife cut in, with a sweet tone that didn't match the content. "He likes to pretend he's calm, but he's always stressed." I looked at her. She smiled at her mother, then at her father, like she'd just offered them a useful data point about a malfunctioning appliance. I let it pass. Then she did it again. Her dad asked me about a project I'd been working on, something he'd heard about through my wife. I started explaining it. "Oh, he's overselling it," she said lightly. "It's not that big. He just likes attention." There it was, not even subtle. Just a casual little smear, delivered like seasoning. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking about me, in third person. Like I was a story she'd already written and was now reading aloud to the room. I didn't snap. I didn't defend myself. I just tilted my head and smiled. Because if you start arguing at a table like that, you don't look strong. You look guilty. You look like you're auditioning for the role of the problem. And my wife had clearly already cast me in that part. So I stayed calm. Let her talk. Let her build the narrative. I watched her posture, the way she held her fork, the way she kept glancing at her parents after every little jab, like she was waiting for them to nod along and confirm she was right. She was setting the stage. The dinner moved forward, and the more comfortable her parents got, the more prepared my wife seemed, like she was waiting for the perfect moment when everyone had a plate in front of them and nowhere to escape. At one point, her mother asked, "Are you two taking a trip this year?" I answered honestly, "We talked about it. I'm open to—" "She's the one who wants it," my wife said, smiling too wide. "He doesn't really plan anything. He just shows up and expects people to do the emotional labor." Her mother's smile flickered. Her father's knife paused for half a second. That was new. The first tiny crack. I looked at my wife and said evenly, "You've been practicing some interesting lines today." Her eyes flashed. "Excuse me?" "I'm just saying," I shrugged. "If you're going to perform, at least commit to the role." Her mother cleared her throat softly. "Would anyone like more potatoes?" My wife took a breath like she was about to say something, then stopped. She swallowed it. Not because she was being kind, because she was saving the big one. And I could feel it coming the way you can feel a storm in your teeth. By the time everyone was eating, forks moving, glasses clinking, the room settling into that comfortable rhythm, my wife finally straightened her posture, set her fork down, and smiled. Not at me, at the room, at her audience. "Can we talk about something?" she said sweetly. Her mother blinked. "Of course." Her father leaned back slightly, attentive. I kept eating, chewed slowly, like I had all the time in the world, because I did. And whatever she thought she was about to do to me, I already knew one thing she didn't. This wasn't going to go the way she planned. My wife waited until everyone had a mouthful. That's not a metaphor. She literally timed it so her parents were chewing, swallowing, and stuck in that awkward, we can't interrupt zone. It was strategic, cruel in a suburban way. She folded her hands on the table like she was about to announce she'd been elected into office. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, voice soft, practiced. "For a long time, actually." Her mom's fork paused mid-air. Her dad set his wine glass down carefully. I kept chewing, slow, calm. The way you eat when you refuse to let someone's drama spike your blood pressure. My wife looked at me like I was supposed to react on cue. Like I was supposed to look confused, guilty, defensive, anything that would help her, brave woman speaking her truth, moment land. She turned to her parents and continued. "I've been tolerating things," she said, and it was amazing how she managed to make the word tolerating sound like she deserved a medal for it. Her mom blinked. "Tolerating what, honey?" She inhaled. "The big setup. The part where she becomes the victim and I become the cautionary tale. Just him." She nodded toward me like she was pointing at a stain on the carpet. "Our marriage. The way I've had to carry everything." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, Because it was audacious. This woman had once asked me to handle the car thing because the gas station attendant looked too talkative. She had called me at work because she couldn't find the remote and said it was stressful. And now she was about to declare she'd carried the weight of the world. Her dad's eyebrows lifted slightly. Not anger, not shock, more like curiosity. My wife kept going, warming up like a speaker who felt the room was finally hers. I've tried, I've communicated, I've compromised. She shook her head with a tragic little smile. But he just doesn't rise to my level. There it was, the line she'd been polishing all day. I set my fork down, not dramatically, just deliberately, because at that point, I wanted my hands free, not to fight, just to be ready for the nonsense. Her mom frowned. Your level? Yes, my wife said, leaning back slightly, shoulders relaxed, like she'd already won. You know what I mean? Ambition, growth, emotional intelligence. I swear to God, she actually said emotional intelligence at the dinner table, like she was reading a blog post out loud. Her dad didn't speak yet. He just watched her. And that's when I realized something important. She wasn't just leaving me. She was performing leaving me. She turned to me again, voice sweet but sharpened. I need more from life, she said, and I can't get it with him. She held the silence like she was waiting for applause. For half a second, nobody moved. I could hear the tiny sounds people don't notice until everything else stops. The tick of the wall clock, the faint hum of the refrigerator, someone's fork tapping a plate by accident. Then my wife added, almost gently, like she was doing me a favor. I think it's best if we end this. I'm done. There, the public breakup, the family dinner guillotine, clean swing, sharp blade, audience present. She looked at her mom first, then her dad. Then finally, she looked at me again, just long enough to check if I was bleeding. That's what she wanted, a reaction she could frame. Anger, I'm abusive. Tears, I'm weak. Defending myself, I'm manipulative. Silence, I'm guilty. She wanted the room to fill in the blanks for her. Her mom's lips parted, like she was about to rush in with comfort. But she didn't. Instead, she asked carefully, Sweetheart, why are you doing this here? My wife smiled like her mom had missed the point. Because I don't want to pretend anymore, she said. And honestly, I think it's important that we're all on the same page. I've been so alone in this. She wanted her parents to nod along, maybe say something like, we always knew you deserved better. She wanted them to turn to me with disappointment in their eyes, so she could float out of the house like a saint. She even tilted her chin slightly, a subtle posture shift that screamed, support me, validate me, confirm I'm the hero. Her dad finally spoke, quiet, low. Is this a joke? My wife laughed once, too lightly. No, Dad, it's not a joke. He stared at her for a moment. His face didn't change. It was the kind of blank expression you see right before someone asks a question that ruins your entire evening. Her mom looked between them, then at me. I didn't speak, didn't plead, didn't defend. I just met her eyes, calm, and took a sip of water. My wife didn't like that. She pressed forward, voice tightening. I know this might be hard for you to hear, she said, looking at me like she was addressing a poorly trained employee. But it's the truth, and I deserve to be happy. Her mom's brows pulled together. Of course you deserve to be happy, but what? My wife snapped, then caught herself and forced the sweet tone back in. I mean, you know what I've been dealing with. Her mom hesitated. I don't. That's what I'm asking. My wife's eyes flashed. She hadn't rehearsed this part. The part where her mother didn't immediately assume I was the villain. So she tried to lead her. You've seen how he is, she said. You've seen how he can be dismissive. Her father's gaze slid to me for the first time in a direct way, like he was checking if I was about to explode. I didn't. I just sat there, posture steady, expression neutral, letting her words hang in the air like cheap perfume. And then her mom asked the first uncomfortable question, not to me, to her. When was the last time you thanked him? The room went even quieter. My wife blinked like her mother had spoken nonsense. What? Her mom didn't flinch. She repeated it, still calm, still polite, still deadly. When was the last time you thanked him? Not generally, not in your head, out loud. My wife laughed, sharper now. Mom, that's not— It is, her mom interrupted gently. That is relevant. My wife's jaw tightened. Her eyes darted to her father. This was the moment she expected him to step in, to fix the narrative, to declare her right. He didn't. He stayed silent, which somehow said more than any speech. My wife's voice rose, a crack forming in the performance. Why are you both acting like this? She demanded. I'm trying to tell you I'm unhappy. Her mother nodded once. I heard you. Then she took a slow sip of wine. And I'm listening, she added. But I'm not going to clap for you while you humiliate your husband at my table. My wife went stiff. Her face did this quick, subtle shift, like a stage light went out, like she suddenly realized the audience was not on her side. I finally spoke, but only one line, calm and almost bored. You picked a weird place to audition. My wife snapped her head toward me. Excuse me? I held her gaze, voice even. You're not leaving me, I said. You're trying to win leaving me. Her mom inhaled slowly like that landed. Her dad, still quiet, shifted in his chair and looked at my wife with something that wasn't anger, disappointment. And that, right there, was the first real crack in her whole plan. Because she didn't come for honesty. She came for witnesses. And the witnesses weren't cooperating. My wife stared at her parents like the room had betrayed her. This was not how it was supposed to go. She'd expected nods, maybe a sigh from her mother. A disappointed look from her father aimed squarely at me. The kind of quiet family consensus that says, yes, honey, you're right. He failed you. Instead, she was getting questions. Worse, she was getting silence. Her dad finally moved. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't do anything dramatic at all, which somehow made it worse. He wiped his mouth with a napkin, folded it carefully, and said one sentence. One question before we go any further. My wife straightened, relieved. This was it. The pivot. The moment where he'd take her side and restore order. Yes, she said quickly. He looked at her, not unkindly, just steadily. Did you come here tonight to tell us the truth? He asked. Or did you come here to make sure someone agreed with you? The air left the room, not metaphorically. I mean, it felt like the oxygen actually packed its bags and left. My wife opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. That's not fair, she said, a little too fast. Her father nodded slowly. That wasn't an answer. Her mom set her fork down now too, both of them, focused, fully present. My wife laughed again, but this time it was brittle. Why are you interrogating me? I'm the one who's unhappy. No one said you weren't, her mother replied. But you don't get to turn pain into a performance and call it honesty. My wife turned to me, eyes sharp. Are you enjoying this? I met her gaze, calm. I didn't schedule it. That got a brief, involuntary smile from her father. It vanished just as quickly. My wife's voice rose. This is unbelievable. I finally stand up for myself, and suddenly I'm the villain? Her mom tilted her head slightly. No one said villain. But you're clearly taking his side, my wife snapped. Her dad exhaled through his nose. No, we're refusing to take any side until we know what actually happened. My wife crossed her arms, defensive, cornered. What do you want? A list, she said. Because I have one. Her mom nodded once. Then give it. Silence again. My wife blinked. She hadn't expected that either. Well, she started. He's emotionally distant. I raised an eyebrow but stayed quiet. Her dad waited. And? He prompted. She frowned. And he doesn't always support my goals. What goals? Her mom asked. My wife hesitated, just a beat too long. You know, growth, becoming more. Her dad's voice stayed calm. That's still not specific. Her frustration finally cracked through the polish. Why are you doing this? She demanded. Why are you protecting him? Her mom answered first. We're not protecting him, she said. We're protecting reality. That landed hard. My wife shook her head, almost laughing. You're unbelievable. Her dad looked at her now with something heavier in his eyes. You brought him into this family, he said. You don't get to rewrite who he is in one evening. My wife's voice sharpened. People change. Yes, her dad agreed. They do. But not usually all at once, and not usually only in one person's story. She turned to me again, searching for a crack. A weakness. Something she could point at and say, see? There. That's what I've been dealing with. You're really just going to sit there? She snapped. You're not going to say anything? I finally spoke again. One sentence. Calm. Flat. I don't need to interrupt you to be heard. Her mother's eyes flicked to me, then back to her daughter. That was when my wife lost control of the tone. You see, she said, gesturing at me. That's smug calm. That's what drives me crazy. He always wants to look like the reasonable one. Her father nodded once. Because so far tonight, he is. The words hit her like a slap. She stood abruptly, chair legs screeching against the floor. So that's it? She said. You're choosing him? Her mom stood too, slower. We're choosing not to be used. That was the moment the mask slipped completely. You always do this, my wife said, voice shaking now. You always expect me to be perfect. No, her mom replied. We expect you to be honest. My wife's eyes darted again. Fight or flight. She chose fight. Fine, she said sharply. You want honesty? Her dad's voice was steady. Yes. She laughed, harsh. I didn't just wake up unhappy. I was already halfway out. That got their attention. What does that mean? Her mom asked. My wife hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Enough. I spoke, not to accuse, not to attack, just to place something on the table. You don't have to explain the late nights, I said calmly, or the phone turned face down, or the friend whose name stopped coming up once I started asking questions. Her mom went very still. Her dad didn't move at all. My wife spun toward me. That is none of your business. I smiled faintly. It stopped being private when you brought it into a family meeting. Her mom's voice dropped. Is there someone else? Silence. Not denial, not outrage, just silence. And that told everyone everything they needed to know. My wife's face flushed. It's not what you think. Her dad nodded once. It never is. She looked around the table, desperate now. You're all misunderstanding me. Her mom shook her head slowly. No, we're finally understanding you. My wife's shoulders sagged. The performance was over. No applause, no standing ovation. Just the quiet aftermath of a plan collapsing under its own weight. She grabbed her purse. I can't believe this. Her dad stood as well. I can. She froze. You wanted witnesses, he continued. You just didn't want us to actually watch. I stood then too, calm, composed. I'll head out, I said. I think the evening's complete. Her mom stepped toward me, voice gentle. You didn't deserve that. I nodded. I know. Behind me, my wife stood alone. No allies, no script left, no one clapping for her truth. And as I walked toward the door, I realized something very simple. She hadn't left me. She'd failed to control the story. I didn't rush out. People expect drama to end with slammed doors or raised voices. But I took my time. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair like this was any other dinner that had simply reached its natural conclusion. Her mother walked me to the door. I'm sorry, she said quietly, like an adult apologizing to another adult, not like a parent picking sides. This shouldn't have happened like this. It's not your fault, I replied. Thank you for not pretending it was. She nodded once. You were always part of this family. I held that thought with me as I stepped outside. The drive home was quiet. No music, No angry replaying of arguments. Just streetlights passing by, one after another, like punctuation marks in a sentence that had already ended. When I got home, the house was dark. Her shoes weren't by the door. Her coat wasn't on the hook. The place looked untouched, almost staged, like she'd left earlier, deliberately, so I wouldn't mistake her absence for hesitation. I dropped my keys on the counter and sat down. For the first time that evening, I checked my phone. A message from her mother. She won't be coming home tonight. She said she needed space. I thought you should know. I stared at the screen longer than necessary. Not because it hurt, because it confirmed something. She didn't just want distance from me. She wanted to control the timing, the optics, the narrative, even after the performance failed. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. Her message was long, too long. Paragraphs, explanations, corrections, emotional footnotes, the kind of message people write when they're trying to convince themselves more than the person reading it. She said she felt attacked. She said she'd been misunderstood. She said her parents had betrayed her. She wrote about how hard it was for her, how brave she'd been, how unfair the evening turned out. I noticed something else too. She never said she wished she'd handled it differently. Not once did she say she was sorry. Not once did she ask how I felt. Only that it hadn't gone the way she expected. I locked my phone and placed it face down on the table. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, the silence in the house felt clean. No tension humming under the floorboards. No careful phrasing. No emotional accounting. Just quiet. She didn't come home that night. And strangely enough, that was the first honest thing she'd done in a long time. She came back the next afternoon. Not late enough to look guilty. Not early enough to look eager. Just calculated. I heard the door before I saw her. Keys placed carefully on the counter. Shoes kicked off without urgency. Like she was returning to a place she still believed she controlled. I didn't greet her. I was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee that had already gone cold, scrolling through nothing in particular. Not avoiding her, just not performing. She stood there for a second, waiting for a reaction. Didn't get one. "So," she said finally, "we should talk." I looked up, calm, neutral. "Sure," I said. "Where were you?" She blinked. Not because she didn't understand the question, because she hadn't prepared for it. "That's not really relevant," she replied, instantly defensive. I nodded once. "Interesting answer." She crossed her arms. "I don't see why I need to explain myself." I took a sip of coffee, grimaced. Too cold. "You disappeared after publicly ending our marriage," I said. "I'm just checking how consistent the pattern is." Her eyes narrowed. "You're being dramatic." "No," I replied. "I'm being observant." She exhaled sharply and looked away. Classic move. Reframe the issue. Shift the focus. "This isn't about where I was," she said. "This is about us." I leaned back slightly. "Then answer the question." Silence. She picked at a thread on her sleeve instead. "That's my private life," she said. "You don't get to interrogate me." That was the moment. Not a fight. Not a betrayal revelation. Just a sentence that told me everything I needed to know. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "Then here's my private decision." She looked up. "What?" "If it's not my business where my wife goes after announcing she's done with me in front of witnesses," I said evenly, "then I'm not married anymore. I'm just inconveniently still in the house." Her mouth opened, closed. "That's not what I meant," she said quickly. "It is," I replied. "You just didn't like hearing it out loud." She stepped closer. "You're twisting this." I stood up. "No," I said. "I'm simplifying it." She stared at me like I'd changed languages. "You don't just get to walk away," she said. "We need to talk this through." "We did," I answered. "At your parents' table, remember?" Her jaw tightened. "That wasn't fair." "You're right," I said. "It wasn't." Then I walked past her. She followed me down the hallway. "Where are you going?" "To get a bag." She laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "You're being ridiculous." I opened the closet and pulled out a suitcase. "I asked one question," I said calmly. "You told me it wasn't my business. That was your answer." She shook her head. "You're overreacting." I folded a shirt and placed it in the bag. Neat, methodical. "No," I said. "I'm reacting appropriately." She leaned against the doorframe now. "So that's it? You're just leaving?" I zipped the bag halfway, looked at her. "You already left," I said. "I'm just making it official." Her voice dropped. "You're going to regret this." I zipped the bag the rest of the way. "Maybe," I replied, "but I won't be confused." She stood there, arms crossed, waiting for me to hesitate. I didn't. I picked up the bag, walked past her, and stopped only once, at the door. "You wanted control," I said without turning around. "You just forgot it only works when the other person keeps asking permission." Then I left. No slam, no speech, no audience, just the quiet sound of a decision being respected. The divorce was uneventful, which, given everything that came before it, felt almost ironic. No dramatic courtroom speeches, no surprise revelations, just paperwork, timelines, signatures, the quiet administrative ending of something that had already died socially, emotionally, and narratively months earlier. She tried to regain control once more, pushing for conversations that weren't about logistics, suggesting closure, implying that maybe we had both made mistakes. I kept it simple. I responded to emails. I showed up on time. I didn't debate history. The less I argued, the less leverage she had. Her parents reached out a few weeks after everything was finalized, not together, separately. Her mother invited me for coffee. She looked tired, not devastated, just disappointed in that deep parental way that has nothing to do with anger and everything to do with loss. "I hope you know," she said quietly, "that none of this was how we raised her." "I know," I replied, and I meant it. She nodded. "You were a good husband, a good son-in-law." She paused, then added, "She didn't lose you because she left. She lost you because she needed an audience." Her father was even more direct. "We thought she was stronger than that," he said. "Strong people don't need witnesses." They never asked me to reconsider, never defended her behavior, never tried to rewrite the night at the dinner table. They didn't apologize on her behalf either. They just acknowledged the loss. As for her, life didn't collapse. It rarely does. She moved on quickly. New plans, new explanations, new people who hadn't seen the original performance and only knew the edited version. I heard she told the story differently every time. Sometimes she left because I wasn't present. Sometimes because I couldn't grow. Sometimes because we wanted different things. The details changed. The tone stayed the same. As if the problem had never been the relationship, only the fact that someone refused to applaud on cue. And me? My life got quieter, which turned out to be an upgrade. No walking on verbal glass, no rehearsed conversations, no feeling like every disagreement was a trial with an invisible jury. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped defending decisions that didn't require permission. And I learned something useful, something I wish I'd known earlier. When someone leaves you in public, they're not ending a relationship. They're testing whether their story will survive without you supporting it. Hers didn't. Mine didn't need to. Because the truth doesn't need witnesses. It just needs someone willing to walk away without asking for approval. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.